So Luis Alberto Lopez sensationally separates Michael Conlan from his senses with a right uppercut in round 5, defending his IBF Featherweight World title. Very good performance and a very good fight, I must say. That being said, I did watch this fight already knowing the result, but it was it was a decent little scrap. It was obviously this weekend was a busy one for boxing, and so you really had to pick which fight you were going to watch. But this one, I feel like if you picked it, you probably would have been quite chuffed that you picked this one. It's the fight itself, I want to say, was competitive in the sense that both guys landed plenty of punches. But obviously, Luis Alberto Lopez, I think there was a quite a clear theme that he was the more dangerous man in the ring. The first impressions I got was, looking at the fight, the first bell's gone, and you can just see that Michael Conlan, the more athletic guy, the more polished guy, looks like the prototypical technical boxer, whereas Luis Alberto Lopez, I think it was Adam Booth, the trainer of Michael Conlan, described him as a street fighter. And that is very much how he comes across. He's someone who he has. I'm still trying to make sense of Lopez's style. It's I want to say that it's conflicted. It's effective, clearly, but it's just so strange. He has moments where he looks like a complete amateur, like a rank novice, but then he has other moments where he looks like a seasoned pro, and he lands some pretty clean offense. And it's just like, who is this guy? How can you be both absolutely dreadful in some instances, but world class in other instances? And obviously, fighters all have strengths and weaknesses. They all have pluses and minuses. But this guy, he kind of dispenses with any kind of middle ground, and he either looks great or he looks terrible. It's really strange to see. But yeah, opening bell's gone, and Michael Conlan looks like he's trying to control the fight. It looks like he wants to make it a boxing match, quote unquote, where he can maintain the distance, maintain a certain range, and look to pick off some shots. But see, the thing is with Michael Conlan, I think he's someone who he can be drawn into a fight. I remember seeing him in his amateur days, and he's someone who he does have some skill. I don't want to say like he's one of the best technicians in the division or anything like that, but he does have some skill, which has definitely been honed by his work with with Adam Booth. And he had a certain amount of precision that Luis Alberto Lopez didn't have. But see, the thing is, Lopez, as I say, has this very awkward way about him. Some people may interpret it as a lack of coordination, but it's the accuracy of Lopez. It isn't terrible, but it's more just the delivery of the punches, which is a little bit off key to say the least. But that's an interesting point, actually, is because you get certain fighters who have a lot of pedigree as an amateur. They're high level professionals, but the way they go about boxing, their approach to boxing, their technique is all very textbook. It's all very ordinary, kind of regular. Whereas you get these guys like Lopez, sometimes from Mexico, a lot of the times from Mexico, and they look very ungainly. They look very uncoordinated, sometimes just purely wild. But it's something that catches a lot of other fighters off guard. Fighters who have been trained to spot that textbook technique. Someone like Lopez comes along, and all of a sudden he's kind of jumping across the ring, trying to land leading left hooks to the body or to the head, or this weird reaching right hand, and it can throw you off. And it looks terrible, but it catches you clean because you're not used to it, and therefore it's effective offense. And Lopez clearly has quite heavy hands, although I think at this point it is fair to question the punch resistance of Michael Conlan. He's a fighter who, just to go back to his amateur days, I remember, I think it was in the Olympics, seeing him get knocked down multiple times in a fight. So even as an amateur, I don't think he's had the best punch resistance. And then when you consider it was only 1, 2, 3, 4 fights ago when he was getting absolutely splattered by Lee Wood in the last round, and stoppage losses like that, they really can take a lot out of a fighter. That being said, though, The punch that Lopez knocked Conlan out with, the right uppercut, was a punch that Lopez had a lot of success with throughout the fight, and he was timing Conlan quite well. And that's another aspect to Lopez's game, is he has very good eyes. And when I say that, I mean the way he can time a shot, particularly when Michael Conlan was moving his head. I think he saw certain patterns in how Conlan was looking to use his head movement to get away from other punches. And he thought, right, I understand the kind of trajectory his head's going to be moving along as he uses that head movement. And he just lined up a beautiful right uppercut, and he just sent Michael Conlan onto not even the seat of his pants. He was just flat on his back, looking up at the lights. So there's, once again, Luis Alberto Lopez, really weird style, but there is some nuance there. There is some skill there, some understanding. And one thing that really impressed me, I think probably more than anything else, is the fact that Lopez, in this fight anyway, I can't really remember the Josh Warrington fight, I'll be honest, but this fight, there were times where Michael Conlan was able to back Lopez up to the ropes and try to get some offense off. But not there was never a point where Lopez looked flustered or even like he was under fire. And now that might seem like it's not particularly important, but it shows me that Lopez is someone who he has like a certain confidence in the heat of the action. You know, certain fighters, they're considered to be cool and calm and collected, but then even when they're catching some heat and they're having to go on a defensive, you can see the look in their eye, their facial expression changes. They're not necessarily worried, but there's an alertness. Whereas with Lopez, his facial expression doesn't seem to change, and it's just like another day in the office to him. So that really kind of stuck with me and impressed me, because it's like, this guy's, Conlan's a decent puncher, and he's trying to let off some heavy leather when Lopez is in a somewhat compromised position. But Lopez just rolls with it. Yeah, his defense isn't great, but you know, he never seems concerned by it. He never seems flustered. It's like, yeah, okay, look, you throw your punches. If they land, they land. If not, great. And he kind of just gets back to work. So he comes across as like a real kind of macho guy. You know, he's not really afraid of anything. And now look, that might not necessarily be the deciding factor in future fights, but I find it to be an impressive quality, I have to be honest. So, yeah, anyway, this, I want to say, was a good performance by Lopez, even though I feel like I'm still trying to make sense of his style and what he brings to the table. Clearly effective enough to take out Michael Conlan. I want to say after the second or third round, it really seemed like Lopez was just hurting Conlan whenever he was landing his punches. And he did start to land regularly. Michael Conlan, I don't want to kick the dog while he's down, but I've never been impressed by him. He's got some fine qualities, but even as an amateur, I thought, you know, this guy, he's fun to watch sometimes, but is he a world beater? Nah, I don't think so. And I think we have to ask the question, what's next for him as well? Because he had a couple of comeback fights after that Lee Wood stoppage against Miguel Mariaga. I think I saw highlights for that one. He stopped Kareem Gurfi in one round. I remember watching that. But he's had 2 shots at the world title now, and now has 2 stoppage losses. And they've been bad losses as well. So, yeah, what's next for Michael Conlan? I'm going to let you guys discuss that. 31 at featherweight. I don't know, maybe pushing it a little bit. And I think it's only going to be, it's a tough road for Michael Conlan. Let's leave it at that. Lopez, on the other hand, I think he's a real player in the division. I think he still has things to work on, and maybe he's reached his ceiling in terms of how much he's going to get better, but I still think he's going to capture some good wins. Clearly has power. Record is 28-2 with 16 wins by knockout. I think he's a harder puncher than his record suggests. Very awkward, weird style. Kind of reminds me a bit of Martinez. You know, I think his nickname's Ray Martinez. Ray is in R-E-Y, which is Spanish for king. Miss Outmatch can confirm that. Mrs. rather. Yeah, is it Julio Cesar Martinez, the one that stopped Sonny Edwards? He not as wild as him, but Lopez, yeah, he's got kind of that element. Very effective fighter, I think. Can still be beaten, definitely. Was beaten earlier in his career by Ruben Villa and Abraham Montoya. So, yeah, earlier in his career, however, in his most high-level fights, he's won, and won in good fashion, I think. So, interesting to see where he goes from here. He retains his IBF belt. And any other points I want to make on this one? No, I think that's it. I think I've given a good appraisal of the performances of both men. I gotta say, I'm looking forward to seeing Lopez fight again. Really weird, awkward style, but clearly quite effective. And yeah, as I say, I think he's gonna get some decent wins. Yeah. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this fight in the comment section below. This was Lopez defending his belt as a champion should. You know, he was away from home, got the stoppage relatively early with one punch. I don't think you can really ask for that much more. He never looked to be in trouble in the fight for my money. So, yeah, I wonder what's next for him. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll chat to you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.